You're listening to the Confidence Shift podcast. I'm your host, Michelle Charles Gustafson. I'm a former award-winning direct sales entrepreneur who achieved everything you think you want in a business, plus a little burnout and depression on the side. But using my degree in marketing strategy, expertise in personal branding, and my creative self-development process, I healed myself by shifting my confidence, starting with how I saw myself in the mirror. Now, as a certified image consultant and international confidence coach, I run a life-changing internet business and online community showing purpose-driven female entrepreneurs, professionals, and community influencers to toss out the old dress for style mentality and shift into the image, mindset, success connection that crushes self-doubt and creates maximum visibility for your goals. Each episode, I share lessons, stories, and personal musings from my life as an entrepreneur, wife, and mom, all aimed at helping you see yourself differently so you can live a life filled with more intention, joy, and success. I'm glad you're here. Let's jump in. Hey folks, I am back and I'm super excited for this topic. This episode is actually a request. And it was a request from some loyal listeners from Instagram. And if you don't follow the podcast on Instagram, make sure you do that at Confidence Shift Podcast. And I put out a request to see what you would like to hear. So this one goes out to lovely followers, Nikki and Nicole, for wanting to know a little bit about transitions and how wardrobe works with transition. So happy to oblige. Here we go. So you've heard me say, likely in the past, that women go through 2 to 3 major transitions every decade. And I'm sticking to that because I've worked with women for over 20 years and I've watched it happen. And these changes are major changes that go through not only body changes, whether they be up and down, might be from a health journey, it might be from a wellness or recovery journey, it might be pregnancy, post-pregnancy, menopause, perimenopause. Our bodies change crazily over our lifetime as women. And those up and downs are transitions that need to be addressed in our wardrobe. But transitions also come in role changes. So it can be turning from college student to adulting. It can be career shifts. It can be promotions. It could be going from corporate to a home business to an entrepreneur. All of those role changes also dictate what we do with our wardrobe. Change can be crazy. They can be great changes, like recovering from something or going into a new place, but they can also be really confusing. And they happen to all of us, so you're not alone. And the way you deal with change in your life will be how you deal with change in your closet. Did you know that? They are linked. How you think about change in your life is how it shows up in the closet. And I know I've talked a lot about the idea of image, mindset, and success and that they're connected. I will keep talking until I'm blue in the face. They are connected. Your image, your mindset, and your dressing behavior, therefore your image, because appearance is a major part of it, are all linked. Think about how you've dealt with change in the past in your life. What mindsets have you held about it? Did you distract yourself from the stress, or did you freeze in the stress? Well, I want you to know that that happens in your closet too. And whenever I'm working with women, I'm looking for these behaviors because it tells me a lot about how to address the solution. And there are 2 major behaviors that come up in a transition in dressing behavior that tell me a little bit more about you. One is a shopping problem. So if you are a shopaholic, you're buying things to try to get it right. What happens is, though, in the end, that you're wasting money trying to get it right. You're not sure what makes it right. So you keep buying and volume happens. So you've got all this volume in your closet. But with the volume comes increased confusion and it feels like no direction. So it's this like ballooning of stuff that you're trying to do to fix the problem. And sometimes even in that shopping problem, it's trying to be a distraction away from the stress. The other behavior that comes is one of paralysis. And this is where you buy nothing. So you don't buy anything because you don't know what to buy. And you don't know what to buy, so you start to try to figure out what to buy, but that turns into overwhelm with trying to figure it out. And then you just freeze and you don't do anything, which leads you to wear stuff that you already have that may not really be appropriate for the transition that you're making. So those are two dressing behaviors that come for a transition that you might recognize in yourself and might be actually a clue that your wardrobe is not aligning with where you're wanting to go. And the thing that fixes these two behaviors are probably things you don't expect. So let me talk about that. But before I do that, I want you to sit back and think about your transition. Whatever it is that's going on in your life that's changing. And in a quiet minute, without overthinking it, and just as I say it, I want you to pinpoint the feeling you have about your transition right now. What was the first word that came to mind? Was it negative? Was it positive? Was it a mix? This is what you are mirroring in your image right now. I guarantee it. Behavior always follows mindset, gals. And you will be expressing this feeling in your dressing style, in your clothing, and in your total image, appearance, behavior, and communication, whether you know it or not. Because that's how it works. So sit back and just think about that feeling that you pinpointed. Keep listening and see how it may apply. Tell you a little story time. I remember going into a couple of ladies' closets that come to mind. I will not mention names because they're probably listening to this cast. They're now clients of mine, longtime clients of mine, and let's not bring up ancient history. But let me tell you about two women that the behavior mirrored in the closet. The first was one lady who was a professional, and she was on her way back to work, but transitioning into a new role. And she had had her last child, but now was transitioning into the next role. And I remember going into her closet, and I work a very particular system about what items you need in order to create presence. And we were going through the items in this one particular category, and I pulled out a shirt, and I was like, what is up with this shirt? Okay. It was clearly a nursing shirt, like, when you breastfeed. Clearly a nursing shirt. It was black. It was all faded out, and it was what I call limpy dimpy. So it had lost all shape whatsoever. But it was in the area where she actually still wears things. And I asked her, I said, what is up with the shirt? It doesn't fit. It doesn't flatter. It's faded out. It's obviously well used, well worn, almost worn out. And I said, it's not the garment here. What is it about this shirt and why does it still exist? What was this shirt that existed for? She said, this was a shirt that I wore when I nursed my last child. And I said, aha! So we are hanging on. We are hanging on to that nostalgia. How old is your son? I asked. And she told me he's 10. It was a 10-year-old shirt hanging on to this nostalgia of that time when she nursed him. We had a little more conversation in the closet, but when we got down to it, she was afraid to release that part of her life. And so she kept the shirt. But the shirt did not honor where she was going. It did not honor her body at the moment. It did not flatter the situation that she was moving into and the presence she needed to create. It did not fit. So it needed to go. Another one of my ladies was up for promotion, and she needed to wear more suiting in order to not only be appropriate in the role, but to command a sense of more presence and attention. And the only one she had before we started working together was ones where when she had left college, and she pulled them out and she was wearing them, but they were all a size too small, too tight. They didn't fit. after we had a chance to talk. She was like, back then, I knew who I was. I knew my confidence. I knew what I stood for. And so she was wearing those clothes to try to recapture those values. But I let her know it's not going to happen if they don't fit. The rest of the world will not see those qualities you think you want to re-own. They will only see something that is too tight. And plus, who you were back then is not who you are today. So are those qualities still applying? Or is it something different? So what I want you to understand is that without understanding how your dressing is attached to your mindset, you will present yourself from a place of your limiting beliefs instead of your strongest confidence. The gal who was still holding on to her nursing shirt was holding on to a woman who couldn't let go of that piece of her life. She was afraid she was going to let it go and not remember and wanted to keep it for herself. The lady who needed to create presence was holding on to who she was 20 years ago instead of recognizing who she was today. Your strongest confidence rests in who you are right now. That requires exploration. And listen, I know it's hard these days to try to figure out how to attach this idea of mindset and clothing together because the world will distract you with clothing as fashion, as something that is, there are pieces to be put together. But what I want you to shift is to thinking about clothing as expression of who you are today. And what I want is you to express your greatest power in the transition that you are walking into or that you have defeated and now you're moving forward from. So you're thinking to yourself, okay, this is awesome, Michelle. I get it. I see the shift. But how do I do it? Listen, I can't tell you a tip that will fix it all. That just doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. I mean, the world will try and tell you the tip that fixes it all, but it doesn't happen in my world because every single woman needs a tailored solution because she's different. Your transition is different from the next woman's transition. Your meaning in that transition is different. Your values because of that transition are different. They're all different. But what I can tell you is this, is start to see your clothing for what it represents in your life. And you can do that by doing these few things. First is check every garment for its fit. Now, there are 16 measurements, proportions, and considerations it takes to get the right body fit that's perfect for your proportions. I know I can't do that for you right here on this podcast. So what I want you to do instead is just use a quick intuition. Does the garment hang properly on the body? Does it skim? Is it not too tight and not too loose? That's the first thing. The second thing is check the energy of the garment. What do I mean by that? Who were you when you bought it? What was important to you? What were your goals at the moment? And do those match? Without knowing the 6 values-filled style profiles that I use to anchor values in clothing for my clients, you'll still be able to get an elementary sense of if that garment aligns with you today. That is important. You cannot just pick a shirt and put it on. The most powerful presence created after transition with your clothing is about attaching that values that garment represents to you. The third thing is understand the presence you need for where you're going. Presence is a quality that speaks before you do. It's based on relatability and approachability. So to have the right clothing for your new transition, you need to know the type of presence you need to create that will connect with others and inspire trust. Once you know these 3 things, you can begin to audit what you have. You can begin to see each garment in a different way. And if you're one of my clients, you now can nail down the individual items you need to fill your hue and style cluster that works for your new stage. Simple, efficient, and money saving. You guys know this. So now you know what pieces to replace. Now, everybody, notice that I didn't say anything about fashion trends. Deeper than just these 3 elements, An image strategy will pull together these puzzle pieces into a full picture of how you present yourself that helps you showcase your best, but that also produces some serious confidence. But it takes the work to pull these things together. You can start today on a very elementary image strategy journey by taking stock of your transition and then the clothing that you own in those 3 pieces I talked about. Pinpoint the mindset you have about your transition that's running you. Figure out which behavior of shopaholic or paralysis you're exhibiting. Check the fit and energy of each garment that you own, and connect with the presence that you need in order to be your best self, but also showcase your best self as you move forward. From there, you will be at the start of a new image confidence journey. And from that awareness, you then can make a choice if it's urgent for you to do more and to find power in a full strategy. Because if you're in the business of helping others see themselves at their best, that you have a purpose to move them forward, you first have to own it yourself. And in a transition, it's the perfect time to make that shift for yourself so that it can be the catalyst to make the shift for others. I hope that helped. Thank you so much for the request, gals. We'll see you soon on the next episode. Take care for now. Thanks so much for listening, gal. I know you can tell that I believe a strategic image and a confidence mindset is something everyone who wants to make an impact needs. A shift in confidence can change your life, and it's my joy to work with everyday entrepreneurs, professionals, and influencers in my signature Hue and Style mentorship program. You can explore about how I work with my clients and see their amazing results and breakthroughs too. It's all at hueandstyle.com. Join the community and start to see how making the image mindset success connection can create a breakthrough in your life too. Can't wait to see you there. Bye for now.